All right, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock Friday morning, and you hear that music, it means that this is time for Winging It. Now, last week I took notes, and I think, if I remember right, I'm not going to introduce our hosts because you know them already, but they are here from Ocala Aviation Flight School. Wait a minute, I can't hear you.
Names.
Say it again? Just first names.
Yeah,
okay.
just first names.
Brad and Josh.
There you go.
There you go.
Excellent.
How you doing, guys?
Good, Larry. See that? I just said Larry.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you going to say good morning?
Good morning.
There you go.
So what's new? What's going on with Facebook? You were saying there was something annoying on Facebook?
We'll get to that.
You'll get to that.
Oh, well, I guess we can start it off. Well, let's start off with the happy-go-lucky stuff.
What do you got?
We have...
It's not lucky, it's work.
Well, happy-go-lucky, you know. Okay.
Happy earned things.
The happy earned things, yes. Josh, would you like to talk about the first one?
Yes, the first one we want to congratulate Chris Morin, who soloed on...
Monday.
Was it Monday?
I think it was Monday.
It's been a long week.
It has been.
Sometime during this last week, he soloed.
It was Monday.
Yeah.
Because we had the solo and the 2 checkers on the same day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he soloed on Monday for the first time, meaning that he got in the airplane without me and went flying. So congratulations to him.
And we also had another gentleman solo, but I think he did it Friday, and that was Eric Griffin. So great job to him for soloing.
Yep. And Sebastian Gomez passed his private pilot check ride on Wednesday.
That was on Monday also. Oh, man.
No.
Yes, it was, because him and Chris Morin and Carlos Austin.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Monday. It felt like... Yeah.
It felt like Wednesday.
Anyhow, he passed his private check ride on Monday. Congratulations to him, and he's moving right into the instrument rating program with us.
Yes.
So,
and then Carlos Alvarez got his multi-engine. See, we had a lot going on this week. That's why it's been...
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yes, yes. So that was very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So now I guess we'll get into the just the interesting airport stuff going on. We had talked a little bit about last week about the possibility of the tower and with everybody, and we're not a political show, so we're not getting into that. We're an informative show. But we were informed, they put it on Facebook, that the tower got a phone call, I think it was Tuesday night, that our tower has been picked to be closed. It will be closed as of April 7th. Now, they did tell the airport manager that unless they gave him 1 week to prove or to show them why it needed to stay open. And they're not talking about the normal stuff of reasons of why we like the tower to be there,
right.
Like the fact that it keeps everybody safe and it keeps the close calls from not being close calls. But they want to show why it's important to the entire state. Already a phone call?
It's up to you if you want to take it. I mean, you're not done yet. If you want to finish.
No, I'm not done yet.
Do you want to keep talking, or you want to go to the phone?
We'll take the phone, but
right.
if it's but you gotta let me finish. So don't argue with me until I'm done talking.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys. It's Sonny calling. I think one of the reasons why our tower should stay open is the fact that on various occasions it's used by the hurricane hunters. It's used by our military. Generally, I think is basically a fuel stop, but still, I live nearby, and I can see a lot of the planes coming and going. And don't forget the large jets that come in for the horses.
Absolutely.
And the horse things there.
Yeah.
So we do have some heavy traffic coming and going out of our airport, and that would be a primary reason for keeping that tower open.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just a thought.
Yeah, thank you, Sonny. Well, and
have a good weekend, guys.
You too. Thank you. Well, that's one thing is people say, well, because it doesn't have domestic flights and that kind of thing, it's not necessary. Well, we have a lot of flights coming in and out of there. The horse, when everything goes on with hits, you have a lot of planes coming in and out. We do have a lot of military training coming in here, and we have a lot of flight training. And it's not just our flight school. We have schools from all over the state coming in and doing procedures and landings, and so it's very important for us and for the safety that we have the tower. But when they had this is the part I'm talking about with Facebook, is we had or the manager had posted they were closing it, and there were a lot of negative comments about the tower, of how stupid it was and it was a waste of money.
Oh, that's the Facebook stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the fact is, these people posting don't understand aviation, or they're just people that didn't want it to begin with. But to put on there, and not understanding why we have the tower, what the tower is good for. Towers are not a waste of money. When I say they save lives, it's not like it's an everyday occurrence where you're about to crash, but it helps control the airport. It helps control what goes on in the air. And it is good for business. It is good for the city, because when you have a tower, it makes more people fly in. Plus, they're working on having bigger companies come in. Bigger companies want towers.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the jets that we see coming in and out of all the business jets that come in and out, their insurance requires that they have a tower at the airports they land.
Wow.
So when our tower closes, we're going to lose, the airport's going to lose all of that business of these jets that are coming in and using our facilities and possibly buying fuel and everything like that, paying the fees to keep their airplanes out on the ramp and everything like that. We're going to lose all that, all right? Plus, we got to remember what the tower does. The tower provides safe separation for aircraft coming into the traffic pattern and regulating it all so it moves smoothly, all right? Before we had the tower, or let's just say this, on good days like we had a couple days ago, where there's no wind, it's clear out, kind of like today, a lot of other flight schools send out student pilots and everything like that, and a lot of them send them to Ocala and the surrounding areas. What you got to remember is these student pilots are still very young in their aviation career. They're very inexperienced. Yeah, green. Let's put it that way. They're green. And they need that extra guidance from a tower to help them out, because otherwise they'd be lost and be going the wrong way in the traffic pattern or something like that. Before we had the tower, we actually had, close calls on a regular basis with people not listening to the radio, going the wrong direction on runways and everything like that. And the tower has created so much safety in that aspect. And also allows these jets to come in and everything like that.
Wow. It's just a shame that they are forcing you to explain why you need to stay open, and if I guess if your argument is good enough, suddenly there's enough money. That doesn't even make sense.
Well, then they'll pick somebody else to close. They're closing people. It doesn't matter. And the issue is, if we say, well, because we're busy, other people are going to say the same thing.
Right.
Well, because we have a flight school. Everybody has flight school. So he has to come up with some good reasons, and that's going to be hard.
Who's he?
The airport manager. And and they gave him 1 week.
Well, maybe maybe Sonny's suggestions will be used.
You hope. And like I said, though, the thing that just got to me is when I saw these negative comments. And, you got people that didn't want the tower. You got people that refuse to use their radios. They don't like to use them. And those are the ones where it can get scary. Because when everybody else is using it and somebody not using their radio comes in,
yeah, right.
They tend to land where they want. And which is okay. It's legal, but it's not the safest.
Well, it's legal at a airport that does not have a tower.
At a non-towered airport, yeah.
And that's why a lot of people didn't like the tower, because they don't like to use the radios. Well, that's half the problems that we were having, is people weren't using the radios. The radios are a tool to keep people safe. And the unfortunate thing is, when we lose a tower, we're going to be sacrificing a lot of safety.
You do have another phone call. You want to take it?
Oh, okay.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys. Not only are you going to be losing a lot, you're sacrificing a lot of safety, but see, you have to be, and I don't want to be utterly critical, but the people in the horse farm industry, a lot of people don't realize they really utilize that airport.
Exactly.
Like you would not believe. It's incumbent upon them to prevail upon their city officials, the county officials, and certainly their congressional representatives of the importance of that tower. And not only that, the city kind of dropped the ball, when we had that, the international port or whatever out there, and they lost that, and they were supposed to work on trying to get it again, where people could come through, the thing with customs that they had out there, you recall that? But anyway, if they had maintained that, along with the fact that we have one of the highest unemployment rates in this state, and I'm sure that when people locate here, that's one of the things that they really look at. So there are a lot of reasons. It's just who who does the lobbying and how articulate they are. And I'm going to tell you straight up, not very many people here have the resources that people in the horse industry have, and they get the most use, so they should be up in arms, in my opinion, in regards to that tower. And they have access to our congressional representatives and our U.S. senator too. So until, you know, if they decide, you know, that they really want that tower will stay here. Because they got the dollars to make sure it stay here. I mean, that's just, and that's just being point blank. So I guess from a local perspective, we need to be lobbying them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the one issue is that they only gave us a week. They didn't tell, like, they had a list of a lot of airports, and you didn't really know which ones were going to be or if they were going to give you a chance. And now the problem is like, okay, you've got 1 week, and so we've been telling, or some people have been telling us, hey, get together, do that, do lobbies, get a hold of congressmen. The problem is we got 1 week.
It doesn't take but a day.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It doesn't take but a few minutes to make those calls. And
I encourage people to make the phone calls. Absolutely, make the phone calls. If you
have a good one.
You too.
And thank you for the information. I was going to call you about that. So maybe you got that ESP or something. But I was certainly going to call you about that tower. Because the city, a lot of people work very hard. People don't know to get that tower here.
Oh yes, yes.
Have a good
one. You too.
You do have another phone call? You want to take it?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to say something real quick.
No. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. One of the things to remember as well, you know, they're sacrificing the safety because they don't have the money for it, but they're also sacrificing thousands of jobs. I mean, we've got, I think, 6 people who work in our tower here that switch off, you know, on shifts and everything like that, and they're planning on closing some. What is it, like 200 towers?
Well, just 100 locally, yeah.
Yeah, 100 locally here, but there's nationwide a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just in Florida alone, you know, 6 people times, that's 600 people without jobs. All right, and they can't go and get a job at another air traffic control facility because they're cutting shifts at other air traffic control frequent places.
Towers.
I'm having a hard time today.
At other towers.
Yeah, at other towers and approach controls and everything like that. So no one's going to be hiring.
Yeah.
So basically, we're just increasing the unemployment rate for Florida and for the local area by closing all these towers.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sonny, again. You hit on a lot of good points there. One other I'd like to bring up is, aren't we trying to entice FedEx to come here, and now we're going to close the tower?
That's a good point, yeah.
Yes.
You know, we're basically dueling it out with Jacksonville, Florida, and us between who's going to woo FedEx here, and I think that tower is a big plus. Plus the fact that it's a low-traffic airport, so this would make it a lot easier for FedEx to come and go with their large freighters.
Absolutely.
All right. Again, have a good weekend, guys.
You too.
That's actually a really good point. Probably without the tower, there's no way that FedEx will come in.
Yeah, well, as of right now, with FedEx talking about coming in, they're not talking about coming in with aviation. It would be a center for trucking, but would hopefully lead into aviation. But exactly, that's one of the things of where our good thing is we say we're busy, which we are. We're a busy airport for our size and everything, but like our taxi time isn't horrible. You know, we had a student that went down south for some training, and he would sit on a taxiway for a half hour to 45 minutes before he ever took off.
Just because of the congestion.
Our average is what, 5?
Yeah.
Maybe 10. I mean, 10 if it's bad.
Half the time you don't even need to stop. You know, you go out there, you get your takeoff clearance, and you go.
Which is a reason of why other companies would want to come in here, because they don't waste fuel and they save a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like he said, they're not going to do that if there's no tower.
Yeah, a lot of insurance companies and a lot of companies require that there is an operating tower. Some companies require there would be a 24-hour tower. You know, for the airlines and stuff like that require that there's a 24-hour tower. Unless there's special circumstances.
There's really nobody else but you two educating us about this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're doing it. You want to go back to the phone?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, guys. say if the tower gets shut down, what does that mean? Like the airport's down for the night, the runway lights are off because there's nobody to watch over the planes coming in or out?
No. Actually, the tower doesn't even operate past 8 o'clock. What it is you've always been able to fly at night, and what it is you have your radio, and there's a way. It's hard to explain, but you have your radio tuned to a certain frequency. You click your button a certain amount of times, and it changes. It turns the lights on, and it changes
the brightness
of the lights and everything. So no, you can actually control that from the air as a pilot.
Yeah.
A pilot.
Oh yeah.
So
it's like Ocala Airport being small in case of an emergency. Let's say like a 737 can't make it to Gainesville, which is I know not far away. Is it on their agenda that airport is available because of the length of a runway to accept that plane?
I'm not sure if it's one of the ones that the company would have listed, but we have had 737s and 757s in there. Yeah.
And actually, that's one of the things that they're working on. Is because there is actually an approach for Orlando International that goes right over Ocala. And that's one of the arguments.
Times I flew over Ocala, landing at Orlando.
Exactly. Well, that's one of their arguments is that we can technically be used for an emergency landing if somebody on an approach to Orlando.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things they're trying to hope for, but they couldn't use it if they didn't have a tower for an emergency. So again, that's another one of the issues they're trying to work on.
Is it possible to maybe get like private funding to keep the tower operational?
I am sure it would be, and I don't know what they're looking into. I mean, it's not something that would happen right away. It'd take quite a lot of time. But it's not just paying for the employees. I mean, there's so much more involved with the equipment, and there's a lot involved in it. And I know that it would be hard to get the money there. I don't know either if they're going to close towers and then give you the option to open back up. I don't know. I mean, all we know is what we were told so far. And I would think that they would give them the opportunity to open them back up in the future. I would hope. But we just don't know.
I'm sure it was quite a bit of importance to the FedEx situation. Now with that airport not running, that might have been the final blow to get them going up to Jacksonville. I'm afraid of that, but
it's possible.
Happens.
Not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. But there are privately run towers. I mean, there are. There's
Lake City.
Thank you.
Who pays for them?
Usually the city does.
Yep. Well, how's that private?
Well, it's private as far as not FAA
it's not the
run.
FAA. It's not the federal government funded.
They're considered private.
It's
they're not private. They're just not FAA.
So it's public money, but from a city level, not the federal level.
Exactly.
I got you. Okay. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning to me again. The other thing that this airport is ideal for, since it has a vast amount of area for approach, etc., is our military jets. All of them, including possibly, I'm not quite sure, but I'm almost sure the C-5A can land there. It's amazing how some of our military planes can use something that you wouldn't consider a runway, and they use it. But anyway, that's another point, that our airport is capable of handling military aircraft. Case closed. Thank you.
C-130?
Yeah, C-130. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, we actually have our airport's used a lot for the Coast Guard. They do a lot of training there with their helicopters and their C-130. You'll see a C-130 coming in and doing. And I'm not sure if they would continue to use our airport if it had a tower or not.
Yeah, there's nothing like seeing a C-130 do touch and goes.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, and what the way the tower is set up right now is we have a tower during daytime, and at night it goes to an uncontrolled airport, so where everyone has to call their position, everything like that. What we're talking about here, when the tower gets closed down, it's going to be like that all the time.
Right.
And obviously there's a lot more traffic during the daytime than there is at night. Sometimes at night it gets hectic because you don't have a tower regulating the traffic that's coming in, and they're kind of coming in wherever, and they're making their radio calls wherever and everything like that. The nice thing about a tower is they'll say, all right, enter the traffic pattern at a certain point and everything like that, so everyone knows, kind of is listening to know where they're coming in. Whereas when you leave it up to the pilot, like we mentioned before, a lot of pilots don't like talking on the radio. Oh, thank you, Dan. And a lot of younger or newer pilots aren't comfortable talking on the radio, and some people just don't care, or some people get so busy that they forget to. So the nice thing about a tower, or the important thing about a tower, is that it really makes it a safe environment for learning, and also for the general public, the people on the ground. You know, you might not realize it before, but you know, if you're anywhere near the airport, look up once in a while and you'll see, you know, probably several airplanes, you know, within a very short amount of time.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a nice thing to know that those are being controlled by a guy up in a tower who in essence sees all.
Does one of these reasons to keep the tower rise to the top, like it's the ace in your deck or whatever, you know? Is there one reason that you really think this is the best reason? We need to make sure this one's on the list. No,
I mean, for me, it's all safety.
Yeah.
I mean, because
safety. Okay.
the airport was there long before there was ever a tower. The flight school was long before there was ever a tower. We were fine. We functioned just fine. For us, it was a safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did not have any major things. Knock on fake wood. Real one. But it was that safety, and it was the close calls. And a close call is not like a close call when you're turning into somebody's lane in a car. You know, you don't get that close, but it's close enough to where it can freak you out.
Yeah.
And for us, it is about safety, and that's where our main focus is. For us, monetarily, for the flight school, it's probably not going to do too much. Now, of course, when we work with international students, one of our key points is that we're a school with a tower, so they get good training, so we'll have to go somewhere else to do, you know, tower training, so that would affect us because we'd have to fly somewhere else. But, you know, as far as it's all about safety. And it's like I said, I don't want people to think, okay, I don't want to fly because it's not going to be safe. It's not that. It just is. It does help. Well, and if we lose a tower and the people that didn't use the radios don't necessarily come back right away, then that's okay with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've heard horror stories from before the tower was operational here at Ocala, that, you know, that we would have a student out on their first solo and they're nervous as can be.
And this isn't a horror story, this is a true story because I watched it happen.
It's a true story. He watched it happen. Where the student pilot out on their first solo, first time alone in the cockpit, you know, they're nervous as can be.
Yeah, right.
You know, and everything like that. Some yahoo comes in with their airplane with a smoke machine on it. You know, that creates the smoke trails, you know, that you see in air shows. Come down right below that airplane and smokes the runway, so you couldn't see the runway.
Oh my goodness!
So we had yahoos like that doing, you know, and that's kind of more of an extreme thing. But things like that happen. People taking off on the same runway, going in opposite directions at the same time, and they miss each other by, you know, 300 feet, which in aviation is pretty close.
Very close, yeah.
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 So it's things like that are, you know, as a flight instructor, that's my main concern, because I want my students to be safe, and I want to be confident that my students will be safe, especially in the traffic pattern, because that's where it gets the most busy in the cockpit. It gets the most busy outside when you're trying to look for other traffic, because everyone is near that airport.
Right.
So that's my main concern as a flight instructor, is I want my students to be safe. I don't want them to go up and have a bad experience and not want to continue their training because, you know, somebody came in and did something stupid or something like that.
The thought that comes to mind is how we can help, really, is to, I mean, the radio show does it, but, you know, reposting this, for example,
on Facebook. Call your
congressman. But I mean, our role, we can put this video on Facebook, etc., and just get the word out again, and have people share it. Good morning, you're on the air with Josh and Brad.
Yeah, I have another quick question. Would your liability insurance be affected with an airport without a tower versus one with?
Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, sorry, we were reading a news thing that Dan gave us, and we'll read that. But go ahead, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Would your liability insurance, would it go up in cost without the tower versus one with the tower in operation?
Ours will not, no.
It has no effect on it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
But one other thing I was going to say, the other impact, and then we're going to read this thing that Dan just gave us, is a lot of other students come in, a lot of other flight schools come into our airport to do training. A lot of ones that didn't before. Now, they may or may not continue coming. If they don't continue coming, then that will affect the city monetarily. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because they come in, they land, they usually get lunch, they get fuel, and then they continue on. They will not be doing that. Now, actually, not to be rude, but as bad as it sounds, I hope they do and I hope they don't. I hope they do because it helps the city. I hope they don't because then you've got too many people flying in our pattern that aren't on a radio. So it could be good or bad. But Dan just gave us something. You want to read it? Or
yeah.
Okay.
This, I don't know where Dan got this.
Where did this come from?
Dan's not listening. All right.
No, Dan, so we can say that this is a viable source.
Reliable source.
All right, I'll read it,
okay,
and then you can come.
source.
It says negative impact on the national interest is the only criterion that the FAA will use in deciding to continue services to an airport that falls below the activity threshold. The FAA is unable to consider local community impact that does not affect the national interest.
So there you go. They're saying they're not even
So
consider
a lot of these ideas are not even worthy of telling.
Well, one of the things that comes to my mind is we have a lot of international students that come into our airport here, and I think that is something of national interest because the United States has always been very, very supportive of diversity, bringing in international students so they can study here and then go back to their countries with a higher education, especially in aviation because the cost is so low here. And I think if they start closing all these towers, there's going to be a lot of international students that aren't going to want to come to these airports with closed towers anymore, which will lead to loss of revenue, both for the flight school, the local community, and also on a national level.
Well, like I said, the best we can do is to repeat this broadcast and put it on the internet and ask everybody listening to share it so that maybe more people come forward. Maybe an idea or two will surface from somebody out there that'll be usable, that it can actually be applicable to the issue. All right, you guys, you want to give out a phone number?
Sure. Yeah, we didn't really talk about training. You can also train with us, by the way. 352-861-7484. That's for calling for training. If you want to call about political issues or tower issues, call next week on the radio.
Yep.
There you go. And in the meantime, we'll post this video podcast, whatever, on the internet and share it, you guys. That'll
right,
yeah, lots
it.
of shares.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a little break. Thank you, guys. We'll take a break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala. The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Where in Florida? Mostly sunny today. The afternoon high 69 to 70.